Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the MLS Now podcast. Remember, you can find us on social media at MLS Now Podcast. Just a reminder, in case you forgot, in the 12 hours that it's probably been since we put out some more content, I'm your host, Russell. You can find me on social media at Mr. Danger Russ, but it's not the only person that you can find on social media at, Mr. Danger Russ. You can find on social media at actually, Ben, it's Ben previewing Philly, but Ben, it's been so long since I've had you on. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the pod, Russell. Right now I'm active on Twitter or X. You can find me at Ben Brescher 18. At Ben Brescher 18, basically on all platforms. Trying to keep the Twitter up to date and previewing a lot of Union, but also MLS news as well.
Yeah, well, that's good. It means that our listeners are in the right place then. Surely I feel like I'm not in the right place sometimes because there's all this preseason action going on, and I'm just like, wait, hold on, is this my hobby? Is this my job? Which one is it? And I start to get it all mixed up. It bleeds together. So either way, I'm glad that you could join us and make my life and our listeners' lives a little bit easier by bringing a true expert on all things Union to the podcast, which is why, Ben, we're gonna rip the Band-Aid off, right? We're gonna dive into the toughest, hardest, saddest question, might be your perspective on it, which is there have been some major changes at the Union over this offseason. Of all the changes, which one do you think is the most impactful? And why is that one the one that maybe scares you the most?
Tough question. Obviously, we've had a lot of turnarounds from the 2024 season. It's been a long time coming. Obviously, we've kept on running it back for a couple of years now, and one of these years we just had to overhaul, let players go and stuff like that. But probably the biggest move, and definitely the most surprising move to me, was that the Union sacked longtime head coach Jim Curtin after a decade in charge of the team. I think it was 2013, 2014. He was the interim head coach, and he's been with us since. And it was definitely very surprising to me. Jim Curtin's basically had all of the success that this club's had. He's definitely made us achieve more than we are capable of. But at the end of the day, Ernst Tanner, sporting director for the Union and GM, thought that Jim Curtin's visions weren't aligning with what he wanted. He wanted a more high pressing style and one that would play more youth players. And he felt like Jim Curtin wasn't doing that. So at the end of the day, we decided to part ways with him and start, I guess, a new era.
Interesting. You mentioned that Ernst Tanner thought Jim Curtin maybe wasn't playing enough youth players, which may come as a shock to many people who don't avidly follow the Union, because the reputation would be that, the Union are quite good at moving academy players into the first team and quite good at integrating them and having them take on pretty significant roles. So as just a non-Philly person, I'm interested to get your take on that. Do you agree with it? Was he not doing enough with the academy, or was he just trying to make the most of what he had?
Um, I do think he was trying to make the most of what he had. At the end of the day, Curtin wanted to win. I think he did bring in some big pieces into the team throughout the years that were youth players. Like over the years, he helped incorporate Brendan Aronson, who's now doing very well in Europe. Even during a time right after in 2019 when we signed Marco Fabian to be, some may say, the face of the franchise, definitely a big DP. Or I don't think he's a DP, but number 10 signing for us. And yeah, obviously then his brother Paxton Aronson as well, tearing it up in Dutch league right now and other leagues. And yeah, this year you got Quinn Sullivan, breakout year 2024 for him on the right side, took Bedoya's spot from him and been really good. Definitely very impressed with him. But yeah, even Nathan Harriel, right back, still came through the academy. And if you look at other guys, Mark McKenzie, even Austin Trusty came through the academy. Matt Freeze, goalie for a while. Uh, Players doing really well. And of course, Jack McGlynn, big year for him. Uh, and obviously, yeah, getting traded to Houston was definitely a big move.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up as well because so Jack McGlynn, for if anyone who has not heard or seen of it yet, was traded as part of the Player Trades for Cash program, which I think is interesting because initially most people would have thought, well, Lucho, Acosta, Evander, these are the guys that go through in the Players for Cash program. But Jack McGlynn moving and getting a couple $1 million to the way of Philly is quite fascinating because this feels like a true we want players in the league and we want to be sustainable as a team. So even if it's not for much, we'll still sell you guys and keep them, on these contracts and on these compensations and fees that let them be like TAM players. Like we're not going to make you pay so much that it makes someone a DP. So I guess it's interesting because this feels like Philly could now really fund and cycle the team using this and saying, hey, 1 million here, 2 million there. And all of a sudden they might rack up, 10, 15 million over the span of a year or two.
Yeah, to break down the McGlynn transfer, I think we could get up to $3.4 million for him. I think that's with incentives and stuff. Plus, we have significant sell-on clause because it's expected that he leaves to go to Europe. That's why many MLS fans were very shocked this move to keep him in the league. Um, I mean, yes, I was very shocked as well. But I think it makes a lot of sense. As much as Union fans or any other fans of the league might want to think about this, it does make sense for the Union. McGlynn's a very talented player. Obviously, has a wand of a left foot, amazing. But he doesn't really fit our style that we've been playing in the past couple of years. The 4-4-2 diamond formation, which he occupies the left spot on, and yeah, so I guess we got a good amount for what he's worth, but we could have gotten more, which is what some, I guess, MLS fans think. Um, yeah, I think he's going to a Houston team that um thrives in possession-based play. Obviously, getting rid of Hector Herrera, a big player, Coco Carrasquilla to Liga MX as well. Um, Jack McGlynn's going to fit right in. In fact, during preseason, he already had an assist to Ezequiel Ponce, which I saw, which is pretty good. And yeah, now that McGlynn's gone, we get some cap space, definitely. We have a lot of GAM, which I hope that we'll use. We have 3 U22 initiative spots open, given that we chose the 2 DP 4 U22 initiative slot, which, given our spending history, makes a ton of sense. And yeah, I mean, excited to see McGlynn. Obviously, he comes back to Philly. We play Houston on, I think, July 19th. So maybe he'll be back for that if he's not in Europe by then. But yeah, I guess big opportunity for him. It makes sense for the Union. It opens up more spots. And yeah, it would definitely surprise me, though.
Would you say, now I'll preface this by saying, Ben, you're definitely outside of what I would call the average fan. I think you're very invested in the team. You pay attention to a lot of what they're doing. You think deeply about the motives behind these sorts of trades. What's the average fan talking about this offseason? Like, is the average fan going into this saying, no, the Union are going to be fine, we're a great team, or are the average fans panicking?
Um, a lot of fans are kind of fed up with the team. They're panicking a lot. They think, a lot of fans think that the Union are just getting rid of players without getting replacements. I agree to some part, but I'm not I'm not that fed up with the team. I understand the motives behind all of these trades and decisions that had to be made. And yeah, I guess it really, one thing I noticed about the Union fan base, they're just like looking through the posts, reading the comments. They love their homegrowns. They love the young guys. So just seeing any of them go, especially to another team in the league like McGlinda to Houston, it's really going to get them frustrated, and as well as just get rid of guys like Julian Carranza, who is such a big part of what we accomplished, and not really bringing in a like-for-like substitute. Obviously, brought in Sam Adeniran last year, did not pan out, and he's already off the team, and I think in the Austrian Bundesliga right now for Lask. And yeah, I think there's the fans could be a little more open to what the Union are doing this offseason. Obviously, signing homegrowns, I think announced today, Frankie Westfield was our 27th homegrown signed. It shows a lot about the team. Obviously, we want to develop youth, which is really important. But I do think that for the youth to succeed and eventually sell them on like the Union want to do, you have to surround them with veterans and guys who are going to able to boost their value.
Well, as far as I know, at least one veteran staying on the team in Gazdag. So, hey, you have that going for you at least.
That's true.
Would you say that Gazdag is the de facto face of the team at this point? I mean, he's certainly been there long enough. He's contributed at a pretty significant level for the team. And I don't like I know he's not a homegrown, but
Yeah, Gazdag, he's just like Kranz, he's been a huge part of what we've been able to accomplish. He's not your normal number 10. In fact, I don't really classify him as a number 10 at all. He's a second striker, kind of like what Sebastian Driussi was in Austin. He's not the type of playmaker that'll get a ton of assists, but he'll score a lot, and he always seems to be in the right place on a lot of the goals you'll see. Um, yeah, Gazdag's obviously he's our leading top scorer in all competitions throughout our history. I think with like 57 goals in MLS, and I think 70 total goals all time. He's a big part, and I'm very interested to see how he fits into our new system under new head coach Bradley Carnell, because Carnell is known for pressing even more than Jim Curtin did, and Gazdag's not a guy who really presses or plays that much defense. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how he plays this year. Obviously, I think it's 3 straight seasons of double-digit goals for Gazdag. Obviously, in 2022, he was in the MVP race for a good amount of time. But yeah, we don't have many veterans left. He's definitely going to need to play a big role this season if we want to win some games and make the playoffs.
that is you're making my job so easy here in that I can segue it perfectly. You've mentioned playoffs. What is the expectation this year? I mean, the Philly Union have historically been a good team. They've made the playoffs consistently. Are you guys like, is there worry, or are the fans going in again saying, no, we're making the playoffs for sure? Like, what? Give me the expectations.
Um, Obviously, there's a little bit of worry, I think, especially with the new coach coming in. People think like the first year could be like an experimental year, get the guys used to Carnell's system. Obviously, the Union were a team that prides ourselves on being one of the best in the league. We didn't make the playoffs in 2024 for the first time since 2017, I believe. So we've been on a pretty good run, and I think that's where we set the bar. So I think Ernst Tanner thinks the exact same. I think it's if we don't make the playoffs, if it's a complete failure, like maybe things would have been different if Jim Curtin made the playoffs with the team. Would he still be here? I don't know, maybe. But yeah, I guess there's definitely some worry bringing in some new players that Like we recently just signed 23-year-old Serbian midfielder Jovan Lukic from the Serbian top flight. He's played in the Portuguese second flight as well, but he's not that proven, which is why some Union fans are on edge. He's brought in as the McGlynn replacement right now. He is a number 6, a very high pressing ball winning number 6 who looks good on tape. And so he will probably occupy the bottom of the diamond, which means that Donley Jean-Jacques will move out to the left side where McGlynn is, or maybe play like pivot with them. But yeah, going back, I definitely think there's some worry. I think we have, as long as our core group of veterans are able to continue to perform at a high level. The biggest one, Andre Blake, obviously so important to this team. He needs to stay healthy. Last year, he's missed a lot of games, and our defense was very leaky because of that. So if Blake stays healthy, and obviously Kai Wagner needs to stay healthy, my opinion, best left back in the league. Honestly, I would even put him as like the best player to ever wear the Union shirt. What he does for the team, both offensively and defensively, is huge. And he's nicknamed the Machine for a reason. He hasn't missed many games for us, and we've needed him a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. The Andre Blake shout is vital. I mean, that's
Yeah.
amazing call out, because we saw the Union last year and they looked like a completely different team. You could have the exact same starting 11 minus Andre Blake, and there's a noticeable dip in form. I mean, can't be understated his leadership on the field, his ability to organize the back line. He's a good shot stopper too. Like he has the whole package and brings it together. So yeah, it's interesting, right? The what if game. Like if Andre Blake was healthy last year, do the Union fall as far as they fell? Does Jim
Yeah.
Curtin still have a job?
Yeah, I think, Andre Blake, he keeps us in games, to put it simply. Past years, he's made ridiculous saves. He's great at like the acrobatic dives and stuff. Still could work on his goal kicks a little bit. I guess partly that's due to his injury, the groin injury. So center backs have been taking them. But yeah, it's been so important to the team, that veteran leadership, especially without Bedoya, who's like a rotational piece now for the team as he's getting older, with obviously Quinn Sullivan playing very well. Yeah, Blake is huge for us. And if we're going to want to start the season off well and continue well, we're going to need Blake to be at his best and, most importantly, healthy.
Okay, so we're going to do a little mental exercise here in the world of hypotheticals.
All right.
We're sitting here. I want you to imagine that it's October 31st, right? It's Halloween. The playoffs are underway. The Union are in the playoffs. And you're thinking to yourself, what an incredible year. I'm so happy to be here. You're looking back at February and you're thinking of all the things that the Union did right to get into the playoffs and to be playing this late in the year. So my exercise to you is, what are the top 3 things that you think the Union need to get right this year to end up in the playoffs?
Oh, okay. Top 3 things. I think we need, I guess, some sense of uniformity throughout the team. Definitely, because we're bringing in new guys. So obviously we let Jack Elliott, a longtime Union center back, took him in the draft in the 4th round of the draft, which there aren't even 4 rounds to MLS Super Draft anymore, so it shows how long ago it was. We sent him to Chicago, free agent. We let midfielder Leon Flock leave on a free to Poland, I believe. He wanted to be closer to his family, so the move makes sense. But there's a lot of holes in the team that definitely need fixing. Obviously, we take out Jose Martinez in the summer. So we bring in Ian Glavinovic. It's actually pronounced Jan, I'm pretty sure. Jan Glavinovic, as Bradley Carnell hinted in a presser. And he's going to have to play a big role, obviously, next to Jacob Glesnes, who to put it simply, hasn't been the same since his sports hernia injury a couple of years ago. Obviously, two drastically bad own goals on the beginning of the season and literally the last play of the season. It's been bad, but uniformity is going to be really important to this team. We need chemistry within the team, basically. And I do think if Glavinovic and Jovan Lukic, the other guy who comes in, are able to step up, I do think we could be in the playoffs. Yeah, I guess a second thing is depth, I guess, which is really, really important for this team. The Union throughout the years have been one of those teams that I feel like we get players that are good enough to make the national team, but not good enough to really play in the game some of the times. So, I mean, yeah, so we lose a lot of guys to international call-ups, which is rough because we get put in spots where we have 3 players on the bench maybe at times. For example, last year in Portland, we were down like that, and we actually won, was somehow down like that. So maybe it shows the character of the team. Maybe we did have depth, but we have a lot of homegrowns, and I think that they could play a big role. Especially, I'm looking at a couple guys, Frankie Westfield, who we just signed. He can play either outside back spot. If Harriel gets called up, Bizo maybe gets called up or misses time, he could slot in or at left back. For if Wagner, we don't really have any left backs besides Wagner. We do have Isaiah LaFleur, a youth left back who we got from the Houston Dynamo 2 last year, but he tore his ACL. So unproven. Yeah, we're going to need depth from basically every guy in the roster, even Kevin Sullivan, who it'll be a big year, and I definitely think he'll get his opportunities. It'll be awesome if him and Quinn play together more. And then the third thing, I think if it goes the Union's way, we could be in the playoffs. Is I don't know. I still think we need one more big signing. I think that if we Tanner hinted in his end of the season presser, the Union would look to upgrade at least one defender, one midfielder, and one forward. Obviously, we got Glavinovic, we got Lukic, so it's defense and midfield. We have striker. As of right now, we are out of international roster spots, but obviously we have a ton of GAM, so we could always trade some for one if we need. But yeah, I think we need a third veteran striker on the team that brings something different. I think Sam Adeniran was the right idea last year. He didn't really turn out the way we wanted to, but we need someone to compete with Uhre and Baribo, because Uhre's a striker who will be on fire, score 4 goals in 4 games, or completely disappear for like 6 games in a row. And we have a lot of young depth options on the bench in striker. Chris Donovan, Eddie Davis, who we should be signing or announcing a homegrown deal probably tomorrow in the next couple of days. We add Marcus Anderson as well, who's another youth guy. We don't really have a veteran. One guy who I was looking at, which Union fans will definitely remember, is Corey Burke, free agent. He'll be very cheap. Even a guy like Kai Kamara, both free agents that I previously wrote about. They could be guys that could just add to the team. And if we have competition, and I feel like we have competition at all the other spots in the field. So if we get a little more competition in the forward spot, I think we could definitely make a run and get into the playoffs with confidence.
Okay. So building on that opportunity for a forward to come in, are there any names out there that you've heard? Is there anything that has been rumored, whether it be one of those cash for players, whether it be a free agency signing somewhere? Is the league looking for a certain type of, is the team looking for a certain type of player? Like, do Philly fans have any sort of hope or direction on what to expect?
Yeah. As of right now, I've not heard any rumors on anything Union transfer related. I do think that hopefully the Union will shop for a striker. Obviously, yes, some guys like Corey Burke, Kai Kamara. Uh, Union fans don't really want to see that though. Old guys, that's what they see. Um, I would really like if we use the cash trade mechanism that just came into the league. Um, don't really have an idea of a guy in mind yet, except I actually do have a midfielder who would be I feel like a really good addition to the team. Nelson Palacio from Real Salt Lake, center midfielder, CDM, could play both sides of the diamond. I think he'd fit the structure of the team very well. Do I think we'll make this move? Probably not. But yeah, I guess striker options. Within the league, obviously there were free agents like Joseph Martinez who went to San Jose. He probably cost a good amount of money, so don't really expect the Union to go there, and he's getting old. Yeah, don't really have a striker name right now out there within the league besides like the free agent guys, but I definitely think that what Union fans want, I should say, is many Union fans want to go out and spend like a big name player. Obviously, seeing Atlanta spend 22 plus million on Emmanuel Latela, seeing Cincinnati spend like 17 million on Kevin Donkey or whatever. Many Union fans are getting frustrated and they want to see a big name signing. What I'm really asking for, I think like a $3-4 million, $5 million signing would go huge way with this team. Obviously, our most expensive transfer is Mikel Ua, who's 2.6 million, I think. If we signed Glavinovic, who's currently on loan, he would be our most expensive signing, which says a lot about the team, given that we've actually only spent $16 million or $17 million in our entire history of the team, while teams like Cincinnati and Atlanta are breaking the bank with that. But yeah, really just asking for a guy like the price of like Rafael Navarro on Colorado. It's a guy who's $4 or $5 million. Some guy who has a pedigree like that and a play style like that would do a lot for this team. And yeah, I think that if the Union finally were gonna go get another striker, it would be a hold up guy, a guy like Corey Burke, like Sam Adeniran, because Tanner's made it clear he likes having a different variety of strikers on the Union roster at all times.
Yeah. When that profile would make a lot of sense, especially if you think about Daniel Gazdag playing almost as that second striker type role.
Mhm.
Second striker players thrive when they have someone to build off of who's like a back to
Exactly.
goal, hold up player who you can pass the ball up to and while you maneuver to a new position and act as the outlet. So logically everything you just said makes complete sense.
Mhm.
Now it's just the will they or won't they game.
Yeah. And what I've seen, it's most likely they won't, unfortunately. Um, yeah, it's never a team that really spends money. I get Ernst Tanner trying to find diamonds in the rough. Like I'm very excited about Jovan Lukic. Another guy I didn't mention, homegrown Neil Pierre. Big potential. In fact, many say he's more exciting to see than Kevin Sullivan. He's the potential to be the best homegrown center back that the Union has developed in history. Still 17 years old. He's 6'5". And yeah, I think maybe we'll see him this year as well. Just adding that in.
I feel like at 6'5", you are physically developed enough to play center back professionally.
Yes, he's looked very good for the Union too as well. Has tremendous ball distribution. Um, and yeah, definitely a prospect to watch. He will get his chances this year, especially with the aging Glesnes. Obviously Glavinovic, who currently dealing from today's currently dealing with a small injury. It's not going to be anything major, but could keep him out for maybe at most a minimum like a week of preseason. But if he does, there will be opportunities for him and Owutu Makanya, our U22 initiative, South African center back as well.
I dig it. So there's reasons to be optimistic. Like you have so many chances that statistically a couple of these guys have to pan out.
Exactly. I do think we have a lot of, we have one of the best academies in the league. Um, Us and I think FC Dallas have best couple in recent years, and you saw that in Union 2 versus North Texas Pro in the MLS uh, um, final for the youth. And yeah, definitely like CJ Olney as well. Who I saw Matt Doyle just wrote an article on him, his big potential this year on the left side. David Vasquez, another guy who's going to come through the system. Nick Periano, even very versatile midfielder, outside back. And yeah, I think what makes Union fans most frustrated, if I had to pinpoint one thing, is that the league is developing. Teams are finding a way that to win, you're gonna have to spend money. Um, and yeah, so you see Eastern Conference teams, even Western Conference teams. You see even LAC potentially adding Griezmann this summer. You see what Austin are doing with Brandon Vasquez, Bukhari, and Uzuni for a ton of money. A lot of teams bringing players. Um, I do think there's a balance between that. Obviously, you look at like an NYCFC team who spend a ton of cash on Augustino Heda, Julian Fernandez, and Jovan Mitohovic for a ton of money and barely got any playing time. So you need to find a balance. But yeah, I think that definitely a breakout year for some of these Union guys. There will be opportunities for the young guys to step up.
That's good news, and it should give a lot of exciting reasons to watch the Union, especially, we have Sunday matches, and I honestly I look forward to when the Union can get one of those standalone Sundays because it'll give an excellent reason to just really fully focus, like watch the Union, watch the young guys that are hopefully playing and not worry about being like, "Oh, I'm missing nine other matches right now." Like, no, it's the Union and only the Union are on. Just focus on them.
Yeah, yeah, we have pretty sure we only have two Sunday games this year, probably because we're not that exciting to watch right now, unfortunately, for the regular MLS viewer, but we have a home game against Nashville, 2 p.m. on a Sunday, pretty early on the season, like maybe 5 weeks into the season, six. And then later down the season, we have an away game in Columbus on Sunday, but also worth mentioning, a big opportunity for the young guys is the Union are back in the U.S. Open Cup, which is huge for this team. We will not be participating in Leagues Cup though, after getting consecutive third place finishes in both the tournaments. But the Open Cup is a chance for the young players to shine. We will host actually the first game, round of 32, probably against maybe a USL team or something like that. There will be chances for young guys to shine. I remember the last, I'm pretty sure I was at the last home US Open Cup game that we had, which was like 2017, 2018, which is crazy. And we had guys like Marcus Epps, who's now MLS guy and now in like the USL, Michi Ingalina, these random guys, even like Mark McKenzie, I'm sure, Austin Trusty, those guys developed through the US Open Cup and then found their way to the first team. So I think the US Open Cup could be a big spot for these young players to grow and find minutes.
Agree. I also just like it as a fan engagement type thing because, for better or worse, like when FC Cincinnati has US Open Cup matches, historically they've been very, very accessible in terms of
Yeah,
pricing. And it's just nice to have like
definitely.
a different experience, see different teams. So, look, the podcast has historically been pretty pro US Open Cup, so it's nice to see more MLS teams in it this year. Last year was certainly a disappointment. As a Cincinnati guy, I wish we were in it properly, but at least we have the two team in it, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
better than nothing.
Yeah, we didn't even have the two team, the Union 2 team in it, so kind of rough, especially seeing it. Obviously, like LAC go so far when they're playing like only a couple MLS teams. But even like LAFC, they don't get to defend their throne in U.S. Open Cup. I don't think so because they're only in Leagues Cup, which is very interesting this year.
Yeah, I think they tried to structure it so that you couldn't be in both.
Yeah, I think there are a couple teams in both. Um, Not exactly sure which ones, but there are a couple teams in both tournaments which could be interesting. Maybe Orlando might be one. Not exactly sure. Um, yeah, maybe Minnesota. I think Minnesota could be in both, but yeah, just a couple.
Right. Well, either way, I look forward to it. It's always nice to see the U.S. Open Cup happen, and matches are usually pretty as well. Like they're accessible to go to in person. They're usually pretty accessible just to watch on TV as well. So
Yeah, definitely. It's just awesome going there and just watching young players who don't really get the opportunity to perform. Big chance for that.
yeah. All right, I'm gonna throw the last main question your way.
All right.
We've talked about all the good things. We've talked about all the promising young guys. Ben, we're gonna balance it out. We're gonna go to the nightmare fuel side. What is it? You're waking up in cold sweat in like the middle of the night. You're like, oh my gosh, like you're looking around like, oh, I just had the worst dream about the union. Like this happened. Like what what is the thing that scares you the absolute most about the union right now?
Oh, tough question because I have thought a lot about
How
the
long
many
is the
different
list?
things. There's I I don't know if I can pick one, but a couple short things are if Wagner leaves, we could like be screwed. Yeah, like I said, what he's done for the team, so important. Um, Bradley Carnell kind of scares me. He has maybe a 35% win rate as a head coach. And what I've heard from St. Louis fans, and I've watched, obviously, his first year in the league, he was good, but he presses so high to an extent that the good teams will just pass right through and just dominate. And also his tactics I've heard are very predictable, which as seeing Jim Curtin's tactics, were also very predictable. I'm not looking forward to something like that where it's going to be easy to break down. But yeah, I don't know. Some nightmare stuff. Not really. Maybe if like Jack Elliott scores like a bicycle kick last minute against us after letting him go, because the way we let him go is pretty rough or seeing Jim Curtin, who doesn't currently have a coaching spot, but get a coaching spot and beat the Union with a team with a high budget. Like he was, there were rumors about him going to NYCFC, but he just obviously they hired Pascal Jansen or whatever, and he wanted to keep his family close. He's a Philadelphia guy. I think we pushed him off a little too easily. I would love to see him come back as coach. That's most definitely not a possibility with Ernst Tanner at GM right now, but yeah. I guess one more thing, Ernst Tanner. Basically what a lot of Union fans like. Obviously, the pressure's all on him now. He fired his scapegoat Curtin. Obviously Jay Sugarman, the owner. There's questions about him not spending enough money. I don't really know what goes behind the scenes, if it's really Sugarman's fault or Tanner's or it's a mix between both. But everything's on Tanner now. If it doesn't go his way, if implementing the youth, not going out and signing a guy, if it doesn't go his way, he could definitely be on the hot seat this year. And that kind of scares me as well, because it's not great to not have a GM, I guess, going in maybe in the middle of the season, coming to the summer transfer window.
Alternatively, you could argue it's great if the GM has not shown the ability to take the team to its goals, because then it's one fewer window they have to kind of to stick the team with decisions that will last much longer than the GM might.
Exactly. Yeah. There's we have some guys who are getting old, like Bedoya. I'm very happy he stayed. I would have been so mad, so irate at the organization if he left and then signed for like a Cincinnati, like a team like that. Um, but yeah, I guess he surprised last year. He has like a front office role as well with the team, so I could see him staying around, being an announcer or something. But then you have Gazdag, who's in his prime right now. There's been interest for him. So if he leaves, that's a huge question mark, which then we need to get a replacement. Like, you gotta spend money. Like, if the Gazdag leaving for us is like if Cucho left for Columbus, which obviously just happened. Like, you're gonna need to go get someone. You're gonna need to spend big. Um, and it's gonna, like Cucho as well, it's gonna have to be someone who fits the certain position. Gazdag, not a true number 10. Cucho, not a true number 9 because he integrates with the other 10s as well. Um, and yeah, I guess I would love to see if the Union made some signings. You got guys like, obviously, Bleshness, I think he's 30 now. He's getting old. At some point, the youth, they're going to play. I definitely think a lot of them will get minutes, but I do think it's important to have veterans around them to see them succeed.
I think those are words of wisdom that a lot of people could probably lean on.
Yes.
Well, fair enough. Hey, you know what? I'll throw one off-topic question your way before we wrap up. I've been throwing this to different people. I feel like it would be unfair to leave you out of the fun.
Okay.
You wake up tomorrow morning, you have a letter in your hand, it just magically appears. It says, "Congratulations, Ben, you've just been promoted to the director of marketing for all of MLS, and we need you to come up with a new marketing gimmick for the season right now, like on the spot." Like, and they're calling you, it's on your phone, and they're like, "What do we do? What do we do? What do we do?" Like, what are you telling them? Like, what do you do to immediately get a gimmick to bring people in to watch the league, whether it be, Philadelphia, San Diego, Minnesota, whoever? They want something to boost visibility.
Interesting. So, like, from the league, not from a team in specific, like signing a player to something from the league to promote.
Yep.
Okay. That's interesting. I guess maybe promote the unique things about MLS. Or like specifically also the MLS, like for that the Union 2 have. There's no draws, so go straight to penalty shootout. Could show clips of that. Even I think one thing that the league, or that I guess like Europeans see from leagues, the old MLS shootouts, stuff like that. That's one thing that I guarantee you, if you're a fan of soccer in Europe, you know about. Maybe bring those back or something. I don't know, but show the history of the league also from a neutral point of view. MLS, at times the defending is very woeful, so there's some bangers in the league obviously every year. You gotta show those, and also if I was the marketing guy, promote the young players like Kevin Sullivan for us. Some other guys, even like David Poreba on Chicago, like the young guys. And yeah, I think you promote the future of the league, the future of U.S. soccer, whoever's here. And obviously, they've been promoting Messi. That's so important to the league.
Yeah.
He definitely changed the league. And
now, the great thing is, you're talking about promoting youth. You could just promote Messi's son, who scored, I think, like 11 goals in a U13 match. I think it was today, as that was going around on social media. So there you go. You get Messi and youth promoted.
I saw that as well. Unfortunately, I think it's fake.
Not fake.
It said there's stuff that gave it away. What especially cracked me up was that the other goal was scored from Diego Luna Jr.
Yeah.
And it said MLS Cup for U13, but Thiago Messi is 1 to 1 in the league.
That's very fair. I think Diego Luna, his child is not, well, his child is under 13, but I don't think his child is more than like 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
In which case, holy smokes, like promote this 2 or 3-year-old who just scored.
Yeah, definitely. But I guess one more thing I will say, which maybe you could implement in future podcasts with the other correspondents, is one breakout player for your team I could add. I think,
let's hear it.
I think I'll give 2. I'll give one who's common and one who's not. I think that a big breakout year could be for Ty Baribo. I think he's shown he's able to score on quick 1-touch, 2-touch. My bold take is that he finishes towards the top of the Golden Boot standings this year. That's very bold, I know, but if we're going to score goals, I feel like Gazog's going to have to regress a little bit. He's been putting up insane numbers. I think Bariba's the one to step up. But for the young guy, I do think if Jovan Lukic, I think it's a huge year for him this year at CDM. He's going to have a massive year with Donley. And then, if I had to guess, one really young guy, Frankie Westfield, like I said, outside back, going to play a big role.
All right. Well, I'm clipping all of those, so we'll revisit this in like 10 months.
Okay. Yeah. Could be good or very bad.
Right.
But
you will either have people messaging you on social media saying, "Hey, give me MVP odds for, these players for next season." Or social media is going to do the thing that they do when like Austin FC got mad that people predicted them to finish last in that 1 year that they were good.
Exactly. Yeah. I will do my Eastern and Western Conference like predictions pretty soon, right before the season starts, and I'll throw out some shouts because I'm not only following the Union, but I follow the league as a whole. So
yeah. It's a fun league.
Exactly.
You never know what's going to happen. You really don't.
I've seen it all. That Chicago goal against Montreal last year where Kellen Acosta shot from half field and the ball in the wind was brought out there, or even Andre Blake getting chipped by David Villa in like 2018 from half field was pretty rough. So, yeah.
Yeah. And let's not forget, we had, for Cincinnati, we had Luca Orishano scoring an 86-yard banger.
Yep. And chipping Semla when we played you guys as well in the same season. So, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, either way, it's a good incentive. Watch every single match you can, even though they don't always make it easy to do that.
Yes, definitely. But I love the Sunday games. It's gonna be great to just see all the teams in action because I want to try to watch every team I can. So, and just know more about each team. So now I can, now that they're separated in different time slots, which I think is a huge plus for the league. Huge plus for the league.
Yeah, very much so. Let people watch more soccer.
Yes.
But hey, in the meantime, though, just a reminder, if you're listening to this and you want to know even more about teams, you don't have to listen to just Ben. We have all sorts of preseason content coming out from many wonderful guests on the podcast. But if you do want to follow Ben, you want to know more about the Union specifically, you can find him on social media. Ben, I believe it's Ben Brecher 18.
Yes, BenBrecher 18.
There you go. Go give Ben a follow if you want to learn more about the Union, or if you want to make anyone who is like, against the Union really salty, you can just like recommend him to them and be like, "Hey, I know this great guy, he's pretty anti-Union. I think you'd really like his takes." And they follow him and they're just like, this guy's pro-Union.
Yes, or if you need someone for any MLS team for me to just talk to them, I'm here for that as well.
Awesome. Well, Ben, thank you very much for being on as always. And just a quick reminder, you can also find Ben and everyone else who contributes to the podcast on social media at MLS Now Podcast as well. And with that said, thanks, Ben. Thanks, listeners. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you for having me.